The darkness of deep space stretched in every direction, endless and silent. Commander Rylan sat in the captain's chair of the TSS Horizon, his eyes fixed on the holographic star map floating in front of him. The mission had been routine so far, surveying the edge of human space for new trade routes. No pirates, no enemy patrols, just the hum of the ship's engines and the occasional soft chatter from the crew. Then the alert came. A faint, blinking dot appeared on the map. The ship's AI spoke in a calm but urgent tone. Unidentified object detected. Coordinates locked. Object is adrift. Rylan leaned forward. Magnify. The hologram zoomed in, showing a small metallic shape tumbling slowly in the darkness. It looked like an escape pod, scarred, scorched, and ancient. Lieutenant Mara, the Horizon's sensor officer, frowned as she checked her readings. That's odd. This pod is old, sir. Real old. Hull composition suggests it's from outside known human space. Any life signs? Rylan asked. Mara hesitated. One faint signal. Could be dying. That was enough for Rylan. Bring us closer. Prepare the med bay. The pod. The Horizon slowed to a careful approach. The escape pod looked like it had been drifting for years, maybe decades. Its hull was cracked in places, and scorch marks told the story of some violent past. When the pod was pulled into the cargo bay, the crew surrounded it, curious but cautious. Rylan gave the order to open it. The hatch creaked and hissed as it was forced open. Inside, lying unconscious in a narrow seat, was a girl. She looked young, maybe 17 in human years. Her skin was pale but threaded with faint, glowing, silver lines like tiny rivers of light beneath the surface. Her hair was pure white, messy and tangled, and her clothes were torn and burnt. Chief Medical Officer Han knelt beside her and quickly scanned her with a handheld device. His eyebrows shot up. Sir, you're not going to believe this. Try. Me, Rylan said. She's Valorian. The cargo bay went silent. Every crew member knew the name, the Valorian problem. The Valorians were a mystery wrapped in fear. Decades ago, before Rylan was even born, the Galactic Council declared them dangerous. According to history, they had started a war that killed millions. The Council passed an order. Any surviving Valorian was to be executed immediately. No trial. No exceptions. Rylan had never met one before. Most people believed they were extinct. Council orders are clear, said Security Officer Darn, breaking the silence. We report this to High Command. They'll send a destroyer. They'll deal with her. Han's jaw tightened. She's barely alive. If we send that report, she won't last an hour. Rylan looked at the girl. She didn't seem dangerous. She seemed fragile, broken. She's just a kid, he muttered. Sir, Darn said, firmly, keeping her is treason. The Council will have our heads. Rylan turned to Han. Can you save her? Han nodded. If I get her to Med Bay right now. Do it, Rylan ordered. Darn's voice rose. Sir, that's a direct violation. Rylan's tone turned cold. That's an order, officer. In the Med Bay, the girl was placed on a clean, white bed in the Horizon's Med Bay. Machines beeped softly as Han worked, sealing wounds and feeding oxygen into her lungs. The silver lines on her skin pulsed faintly, as if they were part of her body's healing process. Rylan stood nearby, watching. Those markings, Han said quietly, they're not tattoos. They're genetic, part of her biology. I've never seen anything like it. After hours of treatment, the girl stirred. Her eyes opened slowly, bright, glowing a soft shade of violet. She looked around, confused and frightened. Easy, Rylan said, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. You're safe here. She stared at him, then spoke in a soft, melodic voice, though her words were halting. Where am I? You're aboard the TSS Horizon. We found your escape pod drifting in space. She blinked, trying to process his words. I am not safe. They will come. They always come. A dangerous truth. Over the next few hours, Rylan tried to talk to her while Han monitored her condition. She told him her name, Lyra. She didn't remember exactly how long she had been drifting, only that her home was gone. When Rylan carefully asked about the war, her face darkened. We did not start it. They lied. The council lied. We were not the monsters they said. It was a dangerous claim. If anyone on the horizon reported those words, both she and Rylan could be executed. Before he could ask more, the ship's alarm blared. Mara's voice came over the intercom. Captain, incoming priority message from the Galactic Council. The Council's demand Rylan stepped into the bridge. The Council's crest, a golden ring over a field of stars, rotated slowly on the main display. Then an older alien in ceremonial robes appeared. His eyes were cold. Commander Rylan, the voice said, our sensors have detected Valorian DNA aboard your vessel. This is a violation of galactic law. You are ordered to transfer the individual to Council custody immediately. Failure to comply will be considered treason. Rylan kept his face neutral. Acknowledged. You have 12 hours, the voice continued. We are dispatching a security fleet to your position. Do not attempt to flee. The transmission ended. The bridge was silent again. All eyes were on Rylan. The choice. He knew what the council would do to Lyra. No trial. No chance to speak. Just execution, all in the name of security. But if he defied the order, the council wouldn't just come for her. They'd come for his crew, his ship, and him. In his mind, the choice was already made. He turned to Mara. Plot a course away from the incoming fleet, quietly, minimal power. I don't want them tracking our engine signatures. Mara hesitated. Sir, that's mutiny, treason, call it what you want, Rylan said. But I won't hand over a child to be murdered. The escape begins. The Horizon's engines hummed at low power as it slipped into the shadow of a nearby asteroid field. They moved slowly, deliberately, letting the thick rocks mask their movement. In the med bay, Lyra sat up weakly, looking at Rylan. You are running from them. Yes, he admitted. They want you dead. Her violet eyes met his. Then you will be hunted too. Rylan gave a small, grim smile. Wouldn't be the first time. Cliffhanger ending hours later, the ship's sensors picked up something. Mara's voice came over the intercom again, tense. Captain, we've got a problem. They found us. Rylan walked to the bridge. On the main screen, 3 council warships emerged from the darkness, their weapons already charged. The lead ship sent a final message. Commander Rylan, stand down. Transfer the Valorian immediately or be destroyed. Rylan looked at Lyra's pale face on the medbay monitor. Then, he looked at the fleet blocking their path. He exhaled slowly. Not today. The Horizon's engines roared to full power. The TSS Horizon shook as its engines roared to life, breaking free from the asteroid field. Commander Rylan stood on the bridge, eyes locked on the tactical display. 3 council warships were closing in fast. Their sleek silver hulls glimmered. Against the darkness of space, weapons glowing with deadly energy. Full burn, Rylan ordered. Mara, get us into the nebula ahead. Maybe their sensors will lose us. Yes, sir, Mara replied, hands flying over the controls. The Horizon surged forward, its thrusters leaving a faint trail of ionized gas. The comms crackled. A cold voice filled the bridge. Commander Rylan, last warning. Power down your ship and surrender the Valorian. You have 60 seconds. Rylan ignored the voice. Darn, get our shields to full capacity. Han, make sure Lyra's secure in. Med Bay. Darn gritted his teeth. Sir, if we get hit by their rail cannons, Full shields won't save us. Then don't get hit, Ryland said. The chase. The first shots came seconds later, blinding beams of blue plasma streaking past the horizon. Mara swerved hard, rolling the ship between two incoming blasts. The crew braced against the sudden shift. They're locking missiles, Mara warned. Countermeasures! Now! Ryland barked. Darn slammed his fist on the defense console. Clouds of reflective chaff burst from the horizon's hull, scattering into space. The missiles followed the bright decoys instead, detonating, harmlessly far from the ship. But the Council ships didn't slow down. If anything, they accelerated. A voice in the medbay inn. The medbay, Lyra clutched the bed rails as the ship trembled around her. She could hear the muffled alarms and the thundering footsteps of crew rushing past. Dr. Han entered quickly. You need to stay here. It's not safe. Lyra's violet eyes locked on him. You should not have helped me. Now they will kill you too. Han gave a tired smile. Our captain made his choice. He doesn't regret it. Lyra hesitated. They are afraid of me, but not because of who I am, because of what I carry. She pulled back her sleeve, revealing the silver lines, running along her arm. The glow was brighter now, pulsing with each heartbeat. What is that? Han asked. It is a key, she whispered, to something the Council fears will change the truth. Through the nebulon, the bridge, Mara announced, entering the nebula. The view outside shifted. Thick, swirling clouds of blue and violet gas surrounded the horizon, lightning-like flashes crackling between them. Careful, Ryland warned. We don't want to fry our systems in here. The nebula's charged particles distorted the horizon's sensors, making it hard to track the enemy. For a moment, Ryland allowed himself to hope they might lose them. But then Darn swore. They're still on us. They switched to manual tracking. They're not giving up. Ryland's jaw tightened. Then we changed the game. The risky maneuver, he tapped the comm to engineering. Chief, I need every bit of power you can squeeze out of. The drive. We're going to skim the nebula's lightning ridge. The chief's voice came back immediately. You're insane, sir. One hit from that charge and the horizon systems will fry. Then don't let us get hit, Ryland replied. The ship tilted sharply, skimming the edge of a massive lightning arc. The energy danced across the horizon's shields, crackling like fire. One of the Council ships tried to follow, only to be caught by a direct strike. The blast lit up the nebula, and the warship spun out of control, vanishing into the clouds. The bridge crew cheered softly, but the celebration was short. Two left, Mara reminded them. The reveal back in medbay. Han sat by Lyra's bed, still curious about her words. If you have something the Council fears, what is it exactly? Lyra hesitated, then reached under the collar of her torn clothes, pulling out a thin metallic pendant. Its surface shimmered with the same silver light as her skin. This, she said quietly, is part of the key. The rest is hidden far away. Together they unlock a vault. Inside is proof. Proof the Valorians did not start the war. The true enemy is still out there. Han's eyes widened. If that's true, showing it could turn the entire galaxy against the Council. Lyra nodded. Which is why they will kill anyone who protects me. Cornered on the bridge, the remaining two Council ships began to close the gap again. Mara's voice was tense. They're faster than us in open space. We can't outrun them forever. Ryland scanned the star map. The nearest safe harbor was a remote trading outpost, but it was 3 jumps away. We just have to get there, before they tear us apart? Or before they call in more ships, Darn added grimly. The Council ships fired again, forcing Mara to weave through the nebula's densest regions. Plasma bolts cut through the gas clouds, lighting them up like fireworks. Suddenly, an alarm blared. Hull breach detected! Deck 4! Darn shouted. "Seal it!" Rylan ordered. The automated bulkhead slammed shut, containing the damage, but the Horizon's shields were down to 40%. A desperate plan Lyra appeared on the bridge doorway, leaning weakly against the frame. Rylan turned in surprise. "You should be in Med Bay." "I can help," she said softly. "I can mask your ship's signal for a short time, but it will drain me." "What do you mean?" Rylan asked. She held up the pendant. "This device was made for stealth travel. It can bend sensor signals, hide energy trails. But it works through me. My life force will power it." Han, who had followed her, shook his head. "She's still recovering. Using that could kill her." Rylan looked at her seriously. "If you do this, there's no turning back." Lyra met his gaze. "You already risked everything for me. Let me risk something for you." The great disappearance. They moved quickly. Lyra sat in the center of the bridge, pendant glowing brightly in her hands. The silver lines along her skin blazed with light, and a low hum filled the air. Outside, the Horizon's image began to shimmer and blur, as if melting into the nebula. On the council ships, "Sensors, the Horizon simply vanished, sir," Mara whispered, eyes wide. "They've lost us." The two warships slowed, scanning wildly in all directions. Unable to find their target, they split up, moving deeper into the nebula. Rylan gave the order. "Set course for the outpost. Keep us cloaked until we're clear." Lyra's glow faded and she slumped forward. Han caught her before she hit the floor. The escape hours later, the Horizon emerged from the nebula into open space. No enemy ships followed. The crew let out a collective sigh of relief. Rylan stood by the medbay door, watching Han check Lyra's vitals. She was unconscious but breathing steadily. Mara stepped up beside him. "Sir, she saved us." Rylan nodded. "Yeah, and now I need to save her." Mara hesitated. "Save her from what?" "From the truth," Rylan said quietly. "Because whatever she's carrying, the Council will never stop coming for it." Cliffhanger ending in. The dark void behind them, the Council ships regrouped. One transmitted a silent message to High. "Command. Target escaped. Requesting pursuit authorization." Somewhere in the depths of space, more ships began to move. And on the horizon, Lyra's pendant pulsed faintly, like it was calling to something far away. The TSS Horizon glided through the dark stretch of space known as the Black Corridor, far from the busy trade routes. Commander Rylan stood at the bridge window, his hands clasped behind his back. The Council's warships were nowhere in sight, for now. But Rylan knew that wouldn't last. Down in the med bay, Lyra was awake again, sitting up on the bed. The silver lines along her skin glowed softly. She looked stronger than before, but her violet eyes still carried a quiet sadness. When Rylan entered, she gave him a small nod. "You didn't leave me behind." "That wasn't an option," Rylan replied. "But I need answers now. You said, you carry part of a key. Where's the rest of it?" Lyra's fingers brushed the pendant around her neck. "The rest is in a place called Kalor's Rest. It's an old Valorian shrine, hidden for centuries. Only my people know the way." Rylan crossed his arms. "And where is it?" "In Dreth space," she said quietly, the name that meant trouble. Rylan's expression hardened. The Dreth Dominion was a name that made even battle-hardened captains uneasy. A ruthless alien empire known for assassinations, slave markets, and starting proxy wars. The Valorian War had ended in blood, and the Dreth had benefited the most from it. "You're telling me," Rylan said, "the proof that could clear your people is sitting in the middle of enemy territory?" Lyra nodded. "The Council knows it too. That's why they've hunted us. If the galaxy learns the truth, everything changes." Han, who was listening quietly, frowned. "Captain, Even if this is true, we can't just fly into Dreth space. They'll tear us apart. Rylan looked at Lyra. We'll need help. Someone who knows the underworld. Dangerous allies. The Horizon's course shifted toward a shadow market in neutral territory, Port Rigel. It wasn't on any official maps, but smugglers, bounty hunters, and war deserters all knew it well. The station hung above a dead planet, its metal structure glowing dimly in the dark like a spider's web. As the Horizon docked, the crew felt the shift immediately. The air in Port Rigel smelled of oil, metal, and danger. Traders shouted in alien tongues, mercenaries watched with suspicious eyes, and every shadow seemed to hide a weapon. Rylan led a small team, Mara, Darn, and Lyra, disguised under a hood, through the market toward a cantina called the Rusted Fang. Inside, the crowd's noise softened when they saw Rylan. In the far corner sat an older man with cybernetic arms and a sly grin. "Captain Voss," Rylan said. "Rylan," Voss replied. "Didn't expect you in a place like this unless you were desperate." "I am," Rylan said. "I need to get into Dreth space, quietly." Voss laughed. "Quietly? Nothing's quiet in Dreth territory. But, for the right price, I might know a few hidden routes. The price of passage." The price turned out not to be credits, but a favor. Voss explained that a Dreth patrol ship had captured one of his cargo vessels. If Rylan could get it back, or at least free the crew, Voss would give them a map of the secret jump lanes into Dreth space. Rylan didn't like it. Every hour they delayed was another hour for the Council to catch up. But without Voss's help, they wouldn't even make it to Kalor's Rest alive. He agreed. Rescue under fire. That night, the Horizon shadowed a Dreth patrol ship near the asteroid belt of Yaren 5. Using the rocks for cover, they crept close enough to board. Mara led a strike team through the patrol ship's maintenance ducts, avoiding cameras and guard posts. Lyra stayed on the Horizon, her pendant glowing faintly, guiding them through the ship's sensor traps. They reached the prison deck and freed Voss's crew, 4 smugglers who looked like they'd been through hell. But as they made their escape, an alarm blared. Dreth guards poured into the corridors, firing energy rifles. Rylan's team fought their way back to the boarding ramp, blasting through the last barricade as the Horizon yanked them out into space. The Dreth ship gave chase for a few minutes, until the Horizon's rear guns punched a hole in its engines, leaving it drifting powerless in the asteroid field. The map and the warning back at Port Rigel, Voss kept his word. He handed over a data crystal containing the jump routes and a warning. "Dreth space isn't just dangerous because of the ships," he said. "It's dangerous because of the people. Out there, trust is the fastest way to die. Keep your heads low and don't stop moving." Lyra studied the map with quiet intensity. "These routes, they'll take us past the silent station." Rylan raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" "It's a graveyard," she said. "A Velorian outpost, abandoned after the war. No one goes there because it's cursed." Rylan smiled faintly. "Good. A cursed place sounds like the perfect hiding spot for something the Council doesn't want found." The close call, they set off again, following Voss's hidden lanes. But halfway to the Dreth border, trouble found them. A bounty hunter frigate, a sleek black ship marked with crimson stripes, locked onto the Horizon. Its captain sent a direct message to Rylan. "You've got something valuable on board, Commander. Hand over the girl, and I'll let you live." Rylan's voice stayed calm. "You'll have to come and take her." The bounty hunter laughed. "Gladly." Station ambush Rylan decided to make a risky stop at a small refueling station before the final jump. They docked, pretending everything was normal. But as soon as they stepped onto the station's main deck, they saw them. Council bounty hunters, disguised as traitors. The bounty hunters moved in, weapons hidden under cloaks. Rylan and Mara exchanged a glance. Without speaking, they drew their sidearms. Blaster fire erupted across the deck. Civilians scattered, alarms wailed, and Lyra darted behind cover. One bounty hunter lunged at her, but she raised her hand, and a sudden shockwave of silver light burst from her skin, throwing him back into a wall. Everyone froze for a heartbeat, stunned by what they saw. Then Rylan shouted, "Move! Back to the ship!" The escape from the station. They sprinted through the station's corridors as the bounty hunters regrouped. Mara blasted the docking clamps apart, and the Horizon ripped free from the port. The bounty hunter frigate tried to block their escape, but Rylan ordered the Horizon straight toward a nearby asteroid field. They weaved between tumbling rocks, letting the larger ones block enemy fire until the frigate gave up and turned away. In the quiet that followed, Rylan turned to Lyra. "That thing you did back there. What was it?" Lyra looked down at her glowing hands. "It's part of my heritage. The silver lines. They're not just a key. They're power. Power my people used to protect what mattered. Cliffhanger ending they reached the edge of Dreth space hours later. Ahead lay darkness, the kind that seemed to swallow light. Somewhere in that darkness was Kalor's rest, and the truth about the war." Rylan looked around the bridge. "From this point on, we're ghosts. If anyone sees us, we're dead." Lyra's pendant pulsed faintly like it was answering some faraway call. Far behind them, in a council war room, a hologram of the Horizon's path flickered on a table. The council's high commander pointed at the destination. "Kalor's rest. Send the fleet." The border to Dreth space was not marked by beacons or signs. It was marked by silence. Beyond this invisible line, patrols hunted without warning, and trespassers vanished without a trace. The TSS Horizon drifted slowly toward that darkness, its lights dimmed and shields on low power. Rylan stood on the bridge, his gaze locked on the swirling shadows ahead. "Crossing now," Mara whispered from the helm. No one spoke. The hum of the engines was the only sound as they slipped into enemy territory. The first test for hours, they glided through empty space. Then a blip appeared on the scanner. Darn leaned over his console. "Dreth Patrol, medium cruiser. They'll spot us in 3 minutes." "Not if we look like traitors," Rylan said. "Kill the Horizon signature. Mara, bring up the false ID codes Voss gave us." A few tense minutes later, the Dreth ship hailed them. A voice like gravel came through the comm. "Identify yourselves." "This is the Starwind Independent Cargo Hauler," Mara answered smoothly, "carrying industrial parts to Gamma Spire." The Dreth officer stared at them through the screen for a long moment, eyes like black glass. Then he grunted. "Proceed." As the Dreth ship drifted away, the crew exhaled in relief. Closer to the goal, Lyra stood by the bridge window, her hood drawn low. The silver lines along her skin pulsed gently. "We're getting close," she murmured. "Kalor's rest is not far now." Rylan glanced at her. "Tell me exactly what we're walking into." "It's a shrine built before my people ever met the council," she said. "Inside is the Heart Vault. That's where the second part of the key is kept, and the records of who truly started the war." Han frowned. "And you're sure it's still there after all these years?" Lyra's gaze was steady. "If it's gone, then my people are truly lost." Shadows of betrayal, while the ship moved deeper into Dreth space, not everyone was loyal. In the lower decks, security officer. Darn slipped into the comms room, locking the door. He pulled a small unmarked transmitter from his uniform. It wasn't human-made. It was council tech, stolen long ago. Speaking in a low voice, he sent a coded message. "Package in Dreth space. Coordinates uploading. Reward expected." The device beeped once, confirming the signal had been sent. Darn. Slipped the transmitter back into his jacket, his face unreadable. Arrival at Kalor's rest. 2 days later, they arrived. Kalor's rest was not on any chart. It orbited a shattered moon, its stone spires rising from the surface like the fingers of a giant's hand. The horizon descended slowly, avoiding jagged debris drifting in the thin atmosphere. The shrine itself was carved into a cliff, its walls covered in Valorian runes that glimmered faintly under the light of the broken sun. Lyra stepped out onto the dusty ground, her pendant glowing brighter with every step. She moved with purpose, almost as if she could feel the path ahead. Rylan and Mara followed, weapons ready. The heart vault inside, the shrine's halls were quiet and cold. Statues of long-forgotten Valorian leaders stood against the walls, their eyes carved to look toward the sky. The air smelled faintly of metal and dust. They reached a massive stone door, covered in glowing lines similar to those on Lyra's skin. She placed her hand on the center. The silver markings along her body flared with light, and the door began to rumble open. Inside was a small chamber. At its center, on a pedestal, sat a crystalline sphere, the heart vault. It pulsed with a slow, steady rhythm like a heartbeat. "This is it," Lyra whispered. "The proof!" The ambush. They didn't have long to celebrate. From outside, the deep roar of engines shook the air. Mara's voice came over the comm from the horizon. "Captain, we've got incoming! Not one, not two, an entire Dreth war fleet!" Rylan swore under his breath. "How did they find us?" Lyra's eyes widened. "The Council! They must have told them!" Before Rylan could answer, another voice cut through the comms. It was colder, more familiar. "Commander Rylan, this is..." "High Command, you are ordered to surrender the Valorian and the artifact immediately. You are surrounded." Rylan looked at Lyra. They didn't just tell the Dreth. They came themselves. 2 enemies, 1 trap. When they stepped outside, the sky above. The moon was a nightmare. A Dreth warfleet hovered to the east, their jagged ships bristling with weapons. To the west, the sleek silver shapes of the Council's fleet glinted in the light. Both sides had their guns trained on the horizon. "Captain," Mara said over the comm, "if we try to take off, we'll be vaporized." The Council commander's voice boomed across open channels. "Rylan, this is your last chance. Hand over the girl and the vault, and we will show mercy." The Dreth warlord followed seconds later. "Give us the girl, and your crew may live. Refuse, and you die screaming." The betrayal revealed Rylan's jaw clenched. "Darn, status on the ship?" Silence. "Darn," he repeated. There was a crackle on the comm. "Captain," Mara's voice came, low and tense. "We found Darn. He was sending signals to the Council. We've got him locked in the brig." Rylan's eyes darkened. "Figures." Lyra looked up at him. "What will you do?" Rylan tightened his grip on his weapon. "We fight our way out. Both sides want you dead, so we make sure neither gets what they want." The first shot, without warning, the Dreth fired first. A massive green energy beam ripped across the battlefield, striking one of the Council's frigates. The blast lit up the sky, and the war began instantly. Missiles and plasma bolts tore through the thin atmosphere, the thunder of explosions echoing off the moon's surface. "Now's our chance," Rylan shouted. "Move!" They ran toward the horizon, dodging falling debris and blasts of energy. Mara was already at the ramp, waving them in. The race to the stars as, soon as they were aboard, Rylan took the captain's chair. "Full power to engines! Get us out of here!" The horizon shot upward, weaving through the chaos as Dreth and Council ships destroyed each other. Pieces of burning metal spun past the viewport. One Dreth fighter peeled off to chase them, but Mara rolled the horizon sharply, letting a stray missile from a Council cruiser slam into it instead. "Punch the jump drive!" Rylan yelled. Cliffhanger, ending. The horizon's jump engines flared, pulling them into the swirling tunnel of faster-than-light travel. The battle vanished behind them. In the silence that followed, Rylan looked at Lyra. She still held the heart vault tightly in her hands. "We've got the proof," he said. But now the entire galaxy knows we have it. Lyra's voice was quiet, but certain. Then we show them. All of them. Far away, in the ruins of Kalor's Rest, the Council and Dreth fleets turned their guns on each other, each blaming the other for letting the Horizon escape. But somewhere out in the dark, more ships were already on their way. The starship Aurora's Edge floated in the void, hidden in the shadow of a massive asteroid. Inside, tension filled the air like static before a lightning strike. Commander Auric paced across the bridge, his boots making a dull thud on the metal floor. His crew, humans and alien allies, worked quietly but with urgency. The Galactic fleet was hunting them, and they had only hours before being cornered. In the medical bay, Lyra sat by the viewing window. Her glowing violet eyes stared at the distant stars. For weeks, she had been on the run with Auric, and though fear lingered, there was also something else now. A strange warmth in her chest whenever she thought of him. She remembered the night. On her homeworld, when she was dragged before the council, accused of treason she didn't commit. She had thought her life was over. But Auric had stepped into that dark chamber, defying the guards, standing tall against the council's decree. He had saved her life more than once since then. And now, she knew, it was her turn. The enemy draws. Closer, a red alert flashed on the bridge screens. "Multiple warp signatures!" shouted Ensign Tala. "It's the Supreme Council's fleet! They've found us!" Auric's jaw tightened. "All hands, battle stations!" The crew scrambled into action. Shields powered up, cannons armed, and the ship's AI began calculating escape routes. But the fleet that approached was massive, more than 30 warships, each one capable of reducing Aurora's Edge to debris. Lyra entered the bridge quietly, wearing a sleek black flight suit. "You can't fight them all," she said softly. "I know," Auric replied, not taking his eyes off the tactical screen, "but we're out of options." Lyra placed a small crystal-like device on the console. "There is another way. This is the heart of my aura. It can disable the enemy's energy systems for a short time, but it will only work if I'm there, on their flagship." Auric froze. "That's suicide." "Maybe," Lyra said, her voice steady. "But if it saves you, it's worth it." A dangerous plan. The plan was simple but dangerous. Lyra would infiltrate the flagship using a cloaked shuttle. Once aboard, she would plant the heart of Myara near the ship's core, triggering an energy disruption that would disable the entire fleet's weapons for a few minutes, just long enough for Aurora's Edge to escape. Auric didn't like it. Every instinct screamed at him to keep her safe. But Lyra was determined, and he knew there was no changing her mind. Before she left, he stopped her in the hangar. "When this is over," he said, "I'll take you anywhere in the galaxy you want. No more running." She gave a small smile. "Then you'd better be waiting when I return." The infiltration. The cloaked shuttle slipped through the battle, lines undetected. Inside, Lyra kept her breathing slow and her mind focused. Her heart pounded, but she remembered Auric's words and held on to them like a lifeline. Docking with the flagship's maintenance bay, she moved like a shadow through the corridors. Guards patrolled everywhere, but her agility and training kept her out of sight. Finally, she reached the core chamber, a vast, glowing sphere of energy pulsing with raw power. She placed the heart of Myara on the central conduit and activated it. A blinding pulse of light erupted, and alarms blared. Power across the flagship flickered, then went out completely. The effect rippled through the fleet. Ship after ship went dark. The escape on Aurora's Edge, Auric saw the readings spike on the sensors. "That's our cue. Punch it, full warp." The ship roared to life, engines blazing as they slipped past the crippled fleet. Explosions flared in the distance as some enemy vessels collided in the confusion. But in the chaos, Auric's heart was heavy. Lyra's shuttle wasn't on the scanners. "Keep scanning," he ordered, refusing to give up. Destiny's hand minutes later, a faint signal appeared. The crew locked onto it, pulling the damaged shuttle into the hangar. When the hatch opened, Lyra stumbled out, weak but alive. Arik caught her before she fell. "You made it," he whispered. "I told you," she said with a faint smile. Destiny had other plans. The crew erupted in cheers, but Arik only held her close. In that moment, he didn't care about councils or wars, only that she was safe. A new beginning. Weeks later, news spread across the galaxy. The Supreme Council had been overthrown, exposed for their corruption. Lyra's name was cleared, and she was no longer an exile. Standing on the balcony of a peaceful colony world, she and Arik watched the twin suns set. "So," he asked, "where to next?" Lyra's eyes sparkled. "Anywhere, as long as you're there." And with that, the man who had once been her rescuer, and the girl who had once been an outcast, stepped forward into the unknown, together, because destiny, as they had learned, was not something to fear. It was something to shape.